Today I'm going to be talking about transplanting your seedlings into bigger containers. You may want to do this if you put a bunch of seeds in a big container. If you want to pull them out and put them in individual containers when they get a little bit bigger. That's one reason you'd want to transplant. Another reason is if the plant outgrows the size of its container. So if the roots start wrapping around the pot, that's called getting root bound, and you'd like to try to avoid that. And it's easier to transplant when the plants are a little bit younger. The reason I'm transplanting the tomatoes and peppers today a little bit early is because multiple seeds came up in the tray that I planted in, and so I want to use those. I don't want to just pinch off the extra tomatoes. I want to actually pot them up, all of them up, into bigger containers. So the things to remember when you're transplanting are, and this is actually when you're seeding too, is to clean your pots from last year. So if you're reusing any pots, just make sure you rinse them out because diseases could transfer. And then if you are a smoker, make sure to wash your hands if you're dealing with any tomatoes, peppers, or eggplant. And so when you're transplanting, before you transplant, you want to make sure all the cells or all the plants are well watered. You don't want them dry when you're transplanting. So then what I'm doing is basically taking a larger pot, filling it with soil, and putting a little hole in it. And then I'm taking, this process is easier when you have something like a 6-pack because you can pick it up and kind of turn it over. But I'm going to be doing it like this. And I'm pinching the back of the cell as I'm pulling out the tomatoes by their stems. And so it's harder to do when they're too young because you'll just pick off the tomato plant. But so when they're younger, you can still sort of separate them like that. And then I'm just going to put this one down for a second, and then I'm going to place the other one in this hole. And for tomatoes, since they're a type of plant where you don't have to put them at the same growing point they had before. In fact, it's advantageous to plant the tomatoes a little bit deeper because they will form roots on their stem. And the same thing is true of peppers as well. So you want to plant those pretty much as deep as you can while not allowing the leaves to touch the surface. So, and then once you have planted them, transplanted them, you want to water them and just make sure they're not stressed out because when they're transplanted they can get a little stressed out. And that's generally true for growing plants because, if they get stressed out, if they get a little too cold or a little too warm or don't have enough water, then they open themselves up for disease or insects. Just like humans can get stressed and open themselves for disease. So you want to just keep them well watered and at a good temperature.